Gillette, the best a man can get.
Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf. That is Chris Broussard filling in for Chris Carter.
What up, man?
It's great to be
here. This right here is Nick Wright.
You as always.
Fun to have you. Thanks for joining us on a Friday.
I missed you guys last week. I was with Chris and Sarah Kustok and Chris Candy. Now it's good to be with you guys, the A-team. Now
that's
absolutely.
How it works.
And it is so great to have you and excited for these next 3 hours.
Absolutely. All right, we got a lot to pack into those 3 hours. Drew Brees and the Saints, they're in the driver's seat of the NFC.
Pump the brakes.
While Patty Mahomes is poised to repeat as MVP. Don't pump those brakes,
no, that's
right?
all right. We're okay with that.
Accelerate. We're going to start with America's team, minus one key member of America's team. The 2019 preseason is now over, which means every game moving forward now counts, which is unsettling when your best player still hasn't shown up. Cowboys will have to start game planning for the Giants Week 1 without Ezekiel Elliott, who's still sipping pina coladas down in Cabo. Zeke touched the ball more than 35% of the Cowboys snaps last year, so the game plan might need to be altered just a tad. Here's Jerry Jones on life without Zeke.
I'm operating as though right now he's going to miss regular season games. My entire expectation for what we're putting together as a team right now would anticipate with him holding out and not having made any at training camp that he's going to miss preseason, that he's going to miss games. I just accept that.
Boy, the messaging from Jerry Jones has really changed over the course of the last couple of months, too. We're probably going to have him. We're definitely going to have him. Not sure if we're going to have him. We're probably not going to have him now for the regular season. Nick, do you think there's any chance Zeke plays Week 1?
I'd give it about a 1 in 10 shot. There is a chance, but it's the lowest it has been at any point during this process, which, of course, then also means the Cowboys' chances of having a successful season are the lowest they have been at any point since last season ended. The Dallas Cowboys rely on Ezekiel Elliott in a unique way compared to almost any other team in football. Since Zeke came into the league, they run the ball the third most of any team in the league. The only two teams that run the ball more than them over the last 3 years, the Bills and the Titans, those two teams have a combined 9 different starting quarterbacks. Those teams run the ball because they don't have a passing game. The Cowboys run the ball in part because they don't have a great passing game, but they do have a great running back. And I went ahead and looked at the opening couple weeks point spreads that are available right now. Yeah, the Cowboys are a touchdown favorite over the Giants, which probably speaks to where Vegas expects the Giants to be this year. But on Fox Bet, the Cowboys are essentially a pick-em in Week 2 against Washington. Washington's a bad football team by my estimation. But if you don't have Ezekiel Elliott, how good of a football team are you? With the injuries and suspensions on your defensive line to start the season, how good of a football team are you? With Jason Witten as your starting tight end, how good of a football team are you? And so not having your best player, I'm bearish on the Chargers for similar reasons. They're not going to have their best player, their best non-quarterback player in Derwin James for a couple months. Talent in the ultimate team sport, the ultimate players still matter, and not having Zeke, to me, could derail the Cowboys season before it even gets off the ground.
I'm like you. I've been saying for months, really ever since Zeke's holdout started, I've said I think that the Cowboys are going to be starting the season. They're going to be willing to start the season without him, just like they did with Emmitt Smith. And then the comments you've heard from Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have just emboldened that viewpoint that I had. But I'm not as skeptical as you, I see. I'm going to say it's about a 20% chance that he starts the regular season because, you know, these things can happen quickly.
Yep.
And so I'll give him that shot. He obviously has to be in by Tuesday at 4 p.m. to get paid for his first week. But I think the Cowboys are willing to start the season without him for these reasons. One, you mentioned the schedule. And I'm shocked at Vegas. I hadn't seen that they've got them pick 'em with Washington, but their first 3 games are bad teams. And I'm not saying I'd let it drag out 3 games, but the Giants, the Redskins, the Dolphins, if you're a Super Bowl contender, like a lot of people think they are, even without Zeke, I think you should win at least 2 of those games. And I'm not saying I'd let it drag out that long. If they beat the Giants, but the offense can't move the football, certainly the running game's not doing anything, then I might go back and get Zeke right then and there and make him the highest paid back. But I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is this, Nick. I keep hearing from everyone about how Zeke-centric the Cowboys offense is. I'm not sure they want it to be that way this year, though. I think with Kellen Moore now calling the plays, I think they have it in their mind that we're going to do things differently. I mean, we know Kellen Moore. He's very close to the college game. He's viewed as one of these, newfangled young offensive minds. We know he's going to have more pre-snap motion. I think he wants Dak to throw the ball down the field more. I don't think they want to just be that. They weren't 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but that team, I think they're going to try to go new. And I think they want to see. They think they can do it, and they want to see if they can do it early in the season, even without Zeke.
But the best chance for them to be, even if they want to go totally new age offense, the best chance to be successful in that is, of course, with your best players out there. Even if they're not going to use Zeke the way they've used him the last 3 years, other defenses, particularly early in the season, would have to account for the fact that they would have to account for how special of a player he is. And anyone claiming that they know what Tony Pollard is going to be, good or bad, is lying. Now, maybe Tony Pollard is going to be Kareem Hunt, a guy who was taken mid-round pick and ended up winning the rushing title his rookie season. But maybe Tony Pollard is also going to be what he looked like in college, which was the second best back on his own team at the University of Memphis. Not exactly a running back factory. So Tony Pollard is a coin flip, and that's probably weighted in one direction rather than the other. You mentioned if the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender, they can sustain this. I agree with you, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I think at full go, with how deep the NFC is, where I can only count 5, maybe 6 teams that going into the season in the NFC appear to be cross-offs, like, okay, you don't have to worry about them, where you have 10 or 11 viable playoff contenders. I look at the Cowboys in the middle of the pack at the conference when at full strength. Without their best player, they all of a sudden drop back to that 7-8 win range being the upper boundary for them.
Look, the Rams were very Gurley-centric and were very run-centric, and they were able to sort of change and modify their offense just a little bit to deal with his injury. And I've been asking this all week. It really appears, now that you heard what Jerry Jones said, that both sides have their heels dug in here. It doesn't seem like they're really having conversations now moving forward. I just wonder how Jerry plays this all out. Who's going to force Ezekiel's hand, and how does that even happen?
Well, Jerry said a few weeks ago, in the regular season, somebody's going to get the leverage. The leverage is going to swing. I think the Cowboys have the leverage now, but it's going to swing wildly one way or the other. If they struggle early, the leverage is going to swing to Zeke. And if I'm the Cowboys, and I agree with you, I don't think they're going to win the NFC, but they seem to think they have a shot. And a lot of people do too. Then I go and get Zeke early if we struggle in that first game or maybe even the second game. But if they look good, if they're rolling, and Tony Pollard, I agree with you. He averaged less than 6 carries a game last year, and that was his most in his career at Memphis. So he's not that bell cow back that you can just give it to, 20 times a game. But if he looks good, and if Alfred Morris, if they're a nice duo, I think the leverage will swing to the Cowboys. Here's the other thing I think they're looking at, Nick. Stephen Jones, I believe, is looking at the analytics. Now, I feel like Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in the league. Better than Saquon, better than Le'Veon Bell. But the analytics in red zone efficiency,
they were terrible.
He's 16th in the NFL.
He wasn't good,
Right, in rushing to close out the game when you want to run out the clock. He was 22nd in the NFL. Right in short game, when you need 3 yards or less for a first down, he's 10th in the NFL. So I'm sure they're looking at that and saying, maybe, Zeke isn't. That's why they don't want to make him the #1 back, paid back in the league.
And listen, those numbers, the Cowboys as a team were terrible in the red zone. Zeke was oddly poor himself in the red zone. The fourth quarter numbers are really interesting. I had seen those as well. It's a good point by you that Zeke was not the guy that you could just hand the ball to at the end of games, grind out first downs. I wonder if that was more a function of the offensive line circumstances, because I know how talented he is. But to your question quickly, Jenna, the best analogy I can come up with is this. Storm's coming. There's There's a flood coming. You call up the insurance company, said, hey, I want to add flood insurance. And you hear, oh my God, they're price gouging me right now. Okay, I'm going to wait and see if the storm misses my house. If it does, I'm going to be able to get this far cheaper. But if it doesn't, my house is flooded. The Cowboys are risking their first floor being underwater after the first 2 weeks of the season because they're trying to avoid the storm and save some money. It is a hell of a gamble. I believe the Cowboys' margin for error is thin enough that when you look at the weakest 3-game stretch of their schedule, which is the opening 3 games, to your point, if instead of being 3-0, you're 1-2, everything that happens thereafter is going to be just noise. It's not going to actually matter. And that's a gamble, it looks like, they're willing to take.
See, I think the Giants and Redskins are more like sun showers than a tropical storm. So.
Obviously, I'm stressed about flood insurance now because I don't have it. But let's also not forget, Zeke's been to the principal office a couple times. Jerry Jones does have that on his side. All right, coming up. Can a 40-year-old Drew Brees carry the Saints to a Super Bowl? Next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel. That's on Sirius XM. We'll be right back.
Jenna Wolfe lives in the penthouse of a 64-story